A single father stares at $12 million worth of luxury cars rotting in his garage, then discovers one of them was never supposed to exist. When the woman sent to cover up the truth refuses to play along, they'll both risk everything to expose the person who wanted these machines erased from history. Stay with me until the end of this story. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this tale travels. The sun hadn't cleared the skyline yet when Liam Carter found the flatbed idling outside his garage, its engine rumbling like a threat in the pre-dawn quiet. He'd been up since 4:30, same as always, making breakfast for his daughter Maya before she left for school. Toast burned at the edges because he'd gotten distracted trying to fix the toaster with a butter knife. Coffee too weak because he'd run out of grounds 3 days ago and kept stretching what remained. Normal morning. Normal chaos. This wasn't normal. 12 cars sat chained to that flatbed, luxury models, German engineering, Italian curves, brands that didn't belong within 5 miles of his neighborhood. The driver, a kid who looked barely old enough to vote, stood beside the truck with a clipboard, chewing gum like his life depended on it. "Liam Carter?" the kid asked. "Yeah." "Sign here." Liam glanced at the paper. It was a delivery manifest from Arcadia Motors, a name he recognized only because their billboards cluttered the highway. High-end dealership, corporate-owned, the kind of place where salespeople wore ties that cost more than his monthly rent. "I didn't order anything," Liam said. The kid shrugged. "Says here you did. 12 units, salvage grade, payment processed. I run a 2-bay garage that mostly does oil changes and brake pads. I don't have the cash or the space for 12. Look, man, I just drive the truck. You want them or not?" Liam stared at the vehicles. Even under tarps and chains, he could tell they were damaged. Dented hoods, shattered windows. One had a front end so crumpled it looked like it had kissed a concrete wall at 60 miles an hour. But luxury damage was still luxury. Parts alone could be worth something. "How much did someone pay for this?" Liam asked. The kid checked his clipboard. "$1,200? For all of them?" "That's what it says." Liam's brain did the math. $1,200 for 12 cars that, even totaled, had to be worth 50 times that in parts. It didn't make sense. Nobody gave away money like that. Not in this business. Not anywhere. "Who sent them?" Liam asked. "Arcadia Motors, like I said." "No." "Who specifically?" The kid sighed, flipping through pages. Requisition came from some department? Asset recovery? I don't know. I just dropped stuff off." Liam should have said no. Should have told the kid to turn around and haul the whole mess back where it came from. But Maya's tuition was 2 months overdue, the landlord had started leaving voicemails, and the garage's air compressor had been making a noise that sounded expensive for weeks now. He signed. The flatbed groaned as it tilted, chains rattling as the cars slid one by one onto the gravel lot beside the garage. Each one hit the ground with a thud that sounded like money landing in his lap or a time bomb ticking down. Liam couldn't decide which. By the time the truck left, the sun had fully risen, and Liam stood alone in a junkyard he hadn't owned 10 minutes ago. Maya found him still standing there when she came out to catch the school bus. "Dad, what's all this?" She was 11, too smart for her own good. She'd inherited her mother's eyes, dark and sharp, the kind that didn't miss much, and Liam's stubbornness, which meant she asked questions until she got answers. "Work?" Liam said. "You bought 12 cars?" "Not exactly." "Then how'd they get here?" "That's complicated." Maya walked up to the nearest one, a sleek black sedan with a cracked windshield and a door hanging half off its hinges. She peered inside, nose pressed against the glass. "This one's got leather seats," she said, "and a screen in the dashboard, like a big one." "Yeah." "Are you going to fix them?" "Maybe." "Can I help?" "Absolutely not." She turned to him, grinning. "Why not?" "Because you've got school and homework and a bedtime." "I could help on weekends." "Maya, I'm good at organizing stuff. You always say that." She wasn't wrong. The kid had a system for everything. Her school binders were color-coded. Her closet looked like a retail display. She'd even reorganized his toolbox last month without asking, and he'd hated to admit it made finding things easier. "We'll see," Liam said, which was parent speak for probably not, but I don't want to argue right now. Maya's bus honked from the corner. Gotta go, she said, already running. She stopped halfway, turned back. Don't sell the black one. That's my favorite. Then she was gone, backpack bouncing against her shoulders as she sprinted toward the bus. Liam looked at the black sedan. It was a Maserati. Or it used to be. Now it was a very expensive pile of broken glass and bent metal sitting in his lot, waiting for him to figure out what the hell to do with it. The first 3 days, Liam didn't touch the cars. He couldn't afford to stop running the garage. Oil changes, tire rotations, a transmission flush for a regular who paid in cash and didn't ask questions. The work was steady enough to keep the lights on, but not steady enough to ignore 12 luxury vehicles slowly collecting dust outside. On the 4th day, curiosity got the better of him. He started with the least damaged one, a silver BMW with a busted taillight and a dent in the rear quarter panel. Cosmetic damage. Fixable. He popped the hood, expecting to find the usual mess of a salvage car, missing parts, cut wires, stripped bolts. Instead, he found an engine that looked like it had been maintained by someone who actually gave a damn. Clean, no leaks, filters recently replaced. Someone had loved this car before it ended up here. He checked the VIN, ran it through the database. The car came back flagged. Total loss. Insurance payout processed. But it didn't look totaled. It looked like someone had bumped a pole in a parking lot and panicked. Liam moved to the next car. A Mercedes. Front end damage, but not catastrophic. He ran the VIN. Same thing. Total loss. He checked a third, then a fourth. Every single one had been written off as a total loss by Arcadia Motors' insurance department, but none of them were totaled. Not even close. Some needed bodywork. A couple needed new glass. One had a blown tire and nothing else wrong with it. Someone had declared 12 perfectly salvageable luxury cars as junk and dumped them on him for $1,200. Liam sat on an overturned bucket, staring at the lot, trying to piece together what kind of scam he'd just walked into. But in sauce? She arrived on the 8th day. Liam was under the Maserati, the black one Maya liked, trying to figure out why the engine wasn't turning over, when he heard the car pull up. A hybrid. Quiet. Expensive. The kind of vehicle that didn't belong in his neighborhood any more than the 12 sitting in his lot. He rolled out from under the Maserati, wiping grease off his hands with a rag that only spread it around. The woman stepping out of the hybrid didn't look like a typical corporate type. No power suit. No heels sharp enough to double as weapons. She wore dark jeans, a fitted jacket, and boots that looked like they'd actually been worn before. Hair pulled back, minimal jewelry. She moved like someone who'd learned to take up space without apologizing for it. She stopped a few feet from Liam, scanning the lot with an expression he couldn't quite read. "You Liam Carter?" she asked. "Depends on who's asking." "Ava Sinclair. I work for Arcadia Motors." Liam tossed the rag onto his workbench. "You here to take these back?" "No, I'm here to figure out why they're here in the first place." That caught him off guard. "You don't know?" "I know what the paperwork says. I don't know if it's accurate." She walked past him, moving between the cars with the kind of focus that suggested she actually knew what she was looking at. She stopped beside the BMW, crouched down, examined the dent in the quarter panel. "This one's barely damaged," she said. "Yeah." "So why was it written off?" "That's what I'd like to know." She straightened, brushing dust off her hands. "How much did you pay for these?" $1,200 for all of them." Her expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her eyes. Surprise, maybe, or confirmation of something she'd already suspected. "That's insane," she said. "Tell me about it." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through something. "According to our records, these vehicles were processed through asset recovery 6 weeks ago. Total loss claims filed. Insurance paid out. Standard procedure." "Except they're not total losses." "No," she agreed. "They're not." Liam crossed his arms. "So what now?" Ava looked at him for a long moment, like she was deciding how much to say. "I'm going to need access to these cars. All of them. I need to run diagnostics, check VINs, pull service histories." "Why?" "Because someone at my company either made a very expensive mistake or they're running a scam, and I need to figure out which." Liam didn't trust corporate types. Never had. They smiled too much, promised too much, and delivered too little. But Ava wasn't smiling. She wasn't promising anything. She was asking permission, and that was different. Fine, Liam said, but I'm watching. I'd expect nothing less, Hasek. Ava spent the next 4 hours going through the cars with the kind of precision that made Liam's usual diagnostic checks look like guesswork. She didn't just scan VINs. She pulled service records, cross-referenced mileage, checked modification histories. She took photos of everything. Damage, VINs, engine bays, interiors. Liam worked on the Maserati while she did her thing, but he kept one eye on her the whole time. You always this thorough? He asked. Only when something doesn't add up. And this doesn't add up? She glanced at him over the hood of the Mercedes. Not even a little. What are you looking for? Inconsistencies, patterns, anything that explains why someone would write off 12 salvageable vehicles and sell them for a fraction of their value. You think someone's stealing? I think someone's lying. Stealing might be part of it, but it's bigger than that. Liam set down his wrench. How much bigger? Ava didn't answer right away. She was staring at something on her phone, scrolling slowly, her brow furrowed. This one, she said, pointing to a dark blue Audi near the back of the lot. When did it arrive? Same day as the others. Why? She walked over to it, circling the car slowly. Because this VIN doesn't exist. What do you mean it doesn't exist? I mean it's not in Arcadia's system. It's not in the manufacturer's database. According to every record I can access, this car was never built. Liam joined her beside the Audi. It looked normal enough. A little dusty, some scratches along the side, but otherwise unremarkable. Maybe it's a clerical error, Liam said. Maybe, Ava said, but she didn't sound convinced. She crouched beside the driver's side door, running her fingers along the frame. Then she stopped, pulled out a small flashlight from her jacket pocket, shined it into the gap between the door and the frame. There's a secondary VIN, she said quietly. What? A second VIN, etched into the frame, hidden. Liam knelt beside her. Sure enough, there it was, barely visible, stamped into the metal where no one would think to look unless they were searching for it. Ava took a photo, ran the number through her phone. Her expression went cold. What? Liam asked. This car was part of a prototype program, Project Halo. It was supposed to be scrapped 5 years ago. Why? Because the program failed. The prototypes were declared unsafe. The company issued a recall, destroyed every unit, and buried the whole thing. Except this one. Except this one. They both stared at the Audi like it might suddenly explode. Why would someone keep it? Liam asked. I don't know, Ava said, but whoever did went through a lot of trouble to hide it. That night after Maya went to bed, Liam sat in the garage with the lights off, staring at the Audi through the window. His phone buzzed, a text from Ava. Don't touch that car. I'm coming back tomorrow. He didn't respond. He should have felt relieved. This wasn't his problem. He'd signed for a delivery he didn't order, and now someone from the company was handling it. Clean hands. Walk away. But something about the way Ava had looked at that car, like she'd just uncovered a body buried in someone's backyard, told him walking away wasn't an option anymore. He thought about Maya, about the tuition bills, the overdue rent, the garage that barely stayed afloat month to month. He thought about the 12 cars sitting outside worth more in parts than he'd make in 2 years. And he thought about the Audi, the one that wasn't supposed to exist. Liam turned off the lights and locked the garage. Tomorrow, things were going to get complicated. Ava returned at dawn, and she wasn't alone. A man in a tailored suit stepped out of the passenger seat of her car. Older, 50s maybe, graying at the temples, the kind of guy who looked like he'd never changed his own oil in his life. Liam Carter? The man said, extending a hand. Liam didn't take it. Who are you? Richard Dane. I'm the director of asset recovery at Arcadia Motors. Great. You here to take the cars back? Actually, I'm here to make you an offer. Liam glanced at Ava. She stood a few feet back, arms crossed, expression unreadable. What kind of offer? Liam asked. Richard smiled. It was the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. We'd like to purchase the vehicles back from you, all 12. We'll pay you $50,000, cash. Today. Liam blinked. 50,000. That's correct? For cars you sold me for $1,200 a week ago. There was an administrative error. We're correcting it. By paying me 40 times what I paid you? Richard's smile tightened. We value customer satisfaction, and we'd like to resolve this quickly. Liam looked at Ava again. She was staring at the ground, jaw tight. What's really going on here? Liam asked. Richard's smile vanished. Mr. Carter, I'm offering you a substantial sum of money for vehicles you acquired by accident. I suggest you take it. And if I don't, then we'll be forced to pursue legal remedies. The sale was processed in error. We have grounds to reclaim the vehicles. You sent them to me. I signed for them. They're mine. That's not how this works. Liam stepped closer. Then explain how it works. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're trying to buy back something you shouldn't have sold in the first place, which makes me think one of these cars is worth a hell of a lot more than 50 grand. Richard's expression went cold. You're out of your depth, Mr. Carter. Maybe, but I'm not stupid. Richard glanced at Ava. Ms. Sinclair, a word. Ava didn't move. Now, Richard said, his voice dropping. Ava met Liam's eyes for half a second. Then she followed Richard back to the car. Liam watched them through the windshield. Richard was talking fast, gesturing sharply. Ava stood with her arms crossed, shaking her head. Then Richard said something that made her freeze. She turned, looked back at Liam. Richard opened the car door, waiting. Ava hesitated. Then she got in. The car pulled away, leaving Liam alone in the lot with 12 cars and a growing certainty that he'd just made a very powerful enemy. Maya noticed something was wrong the moment she got home from school. You okay, Dad? Yeah, fine. You don't look fine. Liam was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the $50,000 offer Richard had emailed him an hour ago. The message was polite, professional, and it ended with a line that felt like a threat wrapped in corporate speak. We trust you'll make the right decision. Just work stuff, Liam said. Maya dropped her backpack on the floor, grabbed a juice box from the fridge, and sat across from him. Is it about the cars? Yeah. Are you going to sell them? I don't know yet. Why not? I thought you needed money. I do. But something doesn't feel right. Maya took a long sip from her juice box, studying him with the same look her mother used to give him when she thought he was about to do something reckless. What doesn't feel right? Maya asked. The people who sold me those cars want them back. They're offering me a lot of money, more than the cars are probably worth. So, that's good, right? Maybe. Or maybe they're hiding something. Like what? I don't know. That's the problem. Maya leaned back in her chair, swinging her legs. Mom used to say you had good instincts. Liam smiled despite himself. She also said I was stubborn. Yeah, that too. They sat in silence for a moment. You gonna keep them? Maya asked. I'm thinking about it. Even if it makes people mad? Especially then. Maya grinned. Cool. Bullshits. That night, Liam went back to the Audi. He didn't know what he was looking for. Evidence, maybe. Proof that Richard was lying, or confirmation that he was about to make the dumbest decision of his life. He popped the hood, checked the engine, nothing unusual. He opened the trunk. Empty. He climbed into the driver's seat. The interior smelled like leather and dust. The dashboard was clean. No personal items, no registration, nothing. He was about to give up when his hand brushed against something under the seat. A small metal case. Locked. Liam pulled it out, turning it over in his hands. It was lightweight. Unmarked. The lock was digital, a keypad with no obvious way to open it without the code. He carried it inside, set it on his workbench, and stared at it for the better part of an hour. Then his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Hello? Mr. Carter. Ava's voice. Quiet. Tense. Don't open that case. Liam's pulse kicked up. How do you know I have it? Because I put a tracker on the Audi. I knew you'd go looking. What's in the case? I don't know, but Richard knows you have it, and he's not going to ask nicely for it back. Then why are you calling me? There was a long pause. Because I think you're right. Something's wrong. And I think that case is the key to proving it. What do you want me to do? Meet me tomorrow, noon. The diner off Route 9. Don't bring the case. Don't tell anyone. Just trust me. Why should I? Because if you don't, We're both going to end up buried next to that prototype." The line went dead. Liam set the phone down and stared at the case. Tomorrow, he'd find out if Ava Sinclair was someone worth trusting, or if he'd just made the last mistake of his life. The diner off Route 9 looked like it had given up trying to impress anyone sometime around 1987. Cracked vinyl booths, fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry wasps. A waitress who refilled coffee without asking and didn't bother with small talk. Liam had passed it 100 times and never once considered stopping. Now he sat in a corner booth with a view of the parking lot, watching the door like his life depended on it. Because maybe it did. Ava was 10 minutes late. He'd left the metal case at home, hidden in the crawl space behind the water heater where Maya would never think to look. Leaving it felt wrong, like walking out of the house without his wallet. But Ava had been clear. No case. And despite every instinct telling him not to trust a woman who worked for the same company trying to buy his silence, he'd followed her instructions. The coffee tasted like burnt rubber. He drank it anyway. When Ava finally walked through the door, she looked different. Tired. Her hair wasn't pulled back anymore. It hung loose around her shoulders, and there were shadows under her eyes that hadn't been there yesterday. She spotted him immediately, slid into the booth across from him without a word. The waitress appeared with a second mug. Ava wrapped both hands around it like she was trying to absorb its warmth. "You look like hell," Liam said. "Thanks. You're a real charmer." "Rough night?" "You could say that." She took a sip of coffee, winced, set the mug down. "Richard called me into his office after we left your place. Told me I was being reassigned." "Reassigned where?" "Nowhere. That's corporate speak for, we're putting you on ice until you stop asking questions." Liam leaned back. "So you got benched because of me?" "I got benched because I wouldn't play along." She met his eyes. "There's a difference. What were you supposed to play along with?" Ava glanced around the diner. There were maybe 5 other people scattered across the booths, none of them paying attention. Still, she lowered her voice. "Richard wants those cars back, all of them, but especially the Audi. Yeah, I figured that part out. He offered you $50,000. If you'd said no, he was authorized to go up to $200. Liam nearly choked on his coffee. $200,000? For 12 junk cars? For one car. The rest are just camouflage. The Audi. Ava nodded. Project Halo wasn't just a failed prototype program. It was a cover for something bigger. The cars were built as test platforms for proprietary software, navigation systems, self-driving tech, things that were years ahead of what anyone else had. When the program got shut down, the prototypes were supposed to be destroyed, every single one. But someone kept this one. Someone hid it, buried it in asset recovery paperwork, falsified the destruction records, and sat on it for 5 years. Why? Because the tech inside that car is worth millions, maybe more. Whoever has it can reverse engineer the software, sell it to competitors, or use it themselves. It's corporate espionage gold. Liam processed that. So Richard's the one who hid it. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe he's just the one cleaning up someone else's mess. She paused. Either way, he's not going to let you keep it. Then why are you helping me? Ava looked down at her coffee. Because I spent the last 8 years working my way up at Arcadia. I believed in the company, thought if I worked hard enough, played by the rules, I'd actually make a difference. She laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. Turns out the rules only apply to people who don't have enough money to break them. That's not an answer. No, she agreed, but it's the truth. They sat in silence for a moment. The waitress came by, topped off their mugs, disappeared again. What's in the case? Liam asked. I don't know, but if it was in the Audi, it's connected to Project Halo. Could be documentation, technical specs, maybe even the source code for the software. And Richard knows I have it. He knows you found something. The tracker on the Audi showed movement inside the car after hours. He doesn't know what you took, but he knows you were looking. Liam rubbed his face. He hadn't slept much. Maya had woken up twice with nightmares, something about monsters in the garage. And he'd spent half the night sitting on the edge of her bed, promising her everything was fine. Which was a lie. Nothing was fine. So what now? Liam asked. Ava pulled a folded piece of paper from her jacket, slid it across the table. This is the name of a forensic data analyst. He's independent, used to work for the feds before he went private. If anyone can open that case and tell us what's inside without tipping off Richard, it's him. Liam unfolded the paper. A name and a phone number. Nothing else. You trust this guy? He asked. I trust that he doesn't owe Arcadia anything. That's the best I can offer. Liam pocketed the paper. And if it turns out the case is full of something Richard's willing to kill for? Ava's expression didn't change. Then we make sure he doesn't get the chance. You say that like you've got a plan. I'm working on it. That's comforting. Look, I know this is insane. I know you didn't sign up for corporate espionage and death threats. But if you walk away now, Richard wins. He gets the car, buries the evidence, and nothing changes. People like him always win because people like us decide it's not worth the fight. Liam thought about Maya, about the garage, about the life he'd built from scraps after everything fell apart. He thought about the 12 cars sitting in his lot, and the $50,000 offer he turned down because his gut told him something was wrong. I'm not walking away, Liam said. But I'm not doing this blind either. You want my help? Then I need to know everything, not just the parts you think I can handle. Ava studied him for a long moment, then she nodded. Fair enough. She pulled out her phone, opened a folder, and turned the screen toward him. It was full of documents, financial records, internal emails, memos stamped with red confidential headers. This is everything I pulled before they locked me out of the system, Ava said. Project Halo was greenlit 6 years ago. Budget of $30 million. The goal was to develop fully autonomous driving software that could be integrated into luxury models. It would have put Arcadia ahead of every competitor in the market. So what went wrong? The software worked. Too well, actually. During testing, the cars started making decisions the engineers didn't program. Not malfunctions, adaptations. The AI was learning faster than anyone anticipated. It scared the hell out of the development team. Scared them how? Ava scrolled to another document. One of the test vehicles rerouted itself during a simulated emergency. Instead of following the programmed safety protocol, it calculated a faster route that put pedestrians at risk. The AI prioritized speed over safety. When the engineers tried to correct it, the system resisted. It didn't want to be reprogrammed. Liam felt a chill run down his spine. You're telling me the car started thinking for itself. I'm telling you the software exhibited behaviors that suggested autonomous decision-making beyond its original parameters. The board panicked. They shut down the program, ordered the prototypes destroyed, and buried the whole thing. Except someone didn't destroy them all. Right. Someone kept one. And that someone either wanted the tech for themselves or planned to sell it. Liam sat back, trying to wrap his head around it. This is bigger than fraud. A lot bigger. And you think the proof is in that case. I think the case is the only reason you're still alive. Richard can't make a move until he knows what you have. The second he's sure you can't expose him, you become a liability. Jesus. Yeah. The waitress reappeared with a pot of coffee. Ava waved her off. Liam let her refill his mug because he needed something to do with his hands. I need to make a call, Liam said. Ava nodded. Use the burner I gave you. Don't use your personal phone. They could be monitoring it. You gave me a burner? She reached into her jacket, pulled out a cheap flip phone, and slid it across the table. Now I did. Liam stared at the phone. You planned this whole thing out ahead of time, or are you just really paranoid? Both. He took the phone, stood up, and walked outside. The parking lot was mostly empty. A semi idled at the far end, its driver asleep in the cab. Liam dialed the number Ava had given him. It rang 3 times before someone picked up. Yeah? The voice was male, rough. Sounded like the guy had just woken up. I got your number from Ava Sinclair. She said you could help me with a problem. There was a pause. What kind of problem? The locked metal case kind. Another pause, longer this time. Where are you? Liam gave him the address of the garage. I'll be there in 2 hours. Don't open the case. Don't talk to anyone. And don't use this phone again unless you have to. The line went dead. Liam pocketed the burner and went back inside. Ava was still in the booth, staring at her coffee like it held answers to questions she hadn't figured out how to ask yet. He's coming, Liam said. Good. What happens after he opens the case? Depends on what's inside. That's not a plan. That's a coin flip. Ava looked up at him. You got a better idea? Liam didn't, and they both knew it. They sat there for another 10 minutes, not talking. Just two people who'd stumbled into something way over their heads and were too stubborn to climb back out. Finally, Ava stood. I need to go. Richard's probably having me followed. The longer I stay, the more attention we draw. Where are you going? Somewhere he won't think to look. That's vague. It's safer that way. She pulled a 20 from her wallet, dropped it on the table. Call me when the analyst finishes. We'll figure out the next move then. Ava? She stopped, turned back. Why are you really doing this? Liam asked. She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was quiet. Because I'm tired of watching people like Richard win. Then she was gone. Liam sat alone in the booth, staring at the $20 bill she'd left behind. It was more than enough to cover 2 cups of terrible coffee. He left it there and walked out. The drive back to the garage felt longer than it should have. Every car that got too close made Liam's pulse spike. Every set of headlights in his rearview mirror felt like a threat. By the time he pulled into the lot, his hands were shaking. He locked the gate behind him, checked the perimeter twice, and went inside. The case was still in the crawlspace, untouched, waiting. Liam pulled it out, set it on the workbench, and stared at it. 2 hours. He made himself a sandwich he didn't eat, checked on Maya. She was at a friend's house, safe, unaware that her father had just painted a target on both their backs. He thought about calling her, telling her to stay there overnight. But what would he say? Hey kiddo, don't come home because corporate hitmen might show up? He left the phone in his pocket. At exactly 2 hours, a van pulled into the lot. Unmarked. White. The kind contractors used. A man stepped out, mid-40s, balding, glasses that looked too small for his face. He wore cargo pants and a faded hoodie. Didn't look like a forensic data analyst. Looked like someone's uncle who fixed computers for beer money. You Carter? The man asked. Yeah, I'm Neil. He didn't offer a handshake, just walked past Liam into the garage, eyes scanning the space like he was looking for cameras. This place clean? What? Bugs. Surveillance. Anyone listening? It's a garage, not a spy novel. Neil grunted. You'd be surprised. He spotted the case on the workbench, walked over, crouched down beside it. This it? Yeah. Neil pulled a small toolkit from his pocket. Don't touch anything. Don't talk. Just let me work. Liam stepped back. Neil spent the next 20 minutes doing things Liam didn't understand. He attached wires to the keypad, plugged something into a laptop, ran software that scrolled lines of code too fast to read. At one point, the case beeped. Neil muttered something under his breath, adjusted a wire, tried again. Finally, the lock clicked. Neil opened the case. Inside was a hard drive, small, black, unremarkable, and a single handwritten note on a piece of paper. Neil read the note, went very still, then looked up at Liam. You know what this is? Neil asked. No. Neil held up the hard drive. This is the source code for Project Halo. Every line, every algorithm, the whole thing. Liam felt his stomach drop. How much is it worth? To the right buyer? 100 million. Easy. Jesus. Neil picked up the note, held it so Liam could see. The handwriting was shaky, rushed, like someone had written it in a hurry. If you're reading this, I'm already dead. Richard Dane killed Project Halo. He killed me. Don't let him kill this too. It was signed with initials. MR. Liam's hands went cold. Who's MR? Neil didn't answer. He was staring at the note like he'd seen a ghost. Neil. Who's MR? Neil looked up. Marcus Reed. He was the lead engineer on Project Halo. Was? He died 5 years ago. Car accident. Single vehicle collision. They said he fell asleep at the wheel. Liam's pulse was hammering now. But he didn't. No, Neil said quietly. He didn't. They stood there in the garage, the hard drive sitting between them like a live grenade. What do we do with this? Liam asked. Neil closed the case, stood up. That's not my call. But if I were you, I'd get this to someone who can actually do something with it. A journalist, a prosecutor. Hell, leak it online if you have to, because the second Richard finds out you have this, you're a dead man. Great. That's comforting. Neil packed up his tools. I was never here. You never called me. And if anyone asks, you don't know who opened that case. Wait, you're just leaving? I did what Ava asked. The rest is on you. He headed for the door, stopped, turned back. One more thing. Marcus Reed had a daughter. She was 8 when he died. I don't know where she is now, but if I were you, I'd find her. Because if this note is real, she deserves to know what happened to her father. Then he was gone. Liam stood alone in the garage holding a hard drive that could destroy a company and a note written by a dead man. His phone buzzed. The burner. A text from Ava. Did he open it? Liam stared at the screen. Then he typed back. Yeah. We need to talk. Now. The reply came fast. Can't. Richard knows we met. I'm being followed. Ditch the case. Get somewhere safe. What about you? I'll figure it out. Just go. Liam looked at the hard drive. At the note. At the 12 cars sitting outside that had dragged him into this nightmare. He thought about Marcus Reed. About a man who died trying to stop Richard Dane. About a little girl who'd lost her father and never knew why. He thought about Maya, and then he made a decision. He grabbed the hard drive, stuffed it into his jacket, and locked up the garage. If Richard wanted a fight, he was about to get one. But first, Liam had to make sure Maya was somewhere Richard couldn't reach her. He drove to his friend's house, the one where Maya was staying, knocked on the door. Julie answered, looking confused. Liam, you okay? Yeah, I just need to talk to Maya for a second. Julie called her. Maya came to the door, still in her school clothes, holding a half-eaten cookie. Hey, Dad. Hey, kiddo. Listen, I need you to do me a favor. Can you stay here tonight? Maybe tomorrow too? Maya frowned. Why? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just have to deal with some work stuff, and it'll be easier if I know you're here having fun. Is this about the cars? Sort of. Maya looked at him for a long moment. She had her mother's bullshit detector. Always had. You're lying, she said. I'm not. You always do that thing with your hands when you're lying. You rub your thumb and your finger together, like you're trying to smooth something out. Liam looked down. Sure enough, his hand was doing exactly that. He sighed. Okay, yeah, something's going on, but I promise you it's going to be fine. I just need you to stay here where I know you're safe. Can you do that for me? Maya didn't look convinced, but she nodded. Okay. Thank you. He hugged her, held on a little longer than usual. Dad? Yeah? Be careful. I will. He let go, stepped back, nodded to Julie. Thanks for this. Any time. You sure you're okay? Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow. He walked back to his truck before either of them could ask more questions. The drive back to the garage felt like driving toward a cliff. Every instinct told him to turn around, to take Maya and disappear, find a new city, a new life, leave the hard drive in a dumpster and let someone else deal with it, but he kept driving, because Marcus Reed had written that note knowing he was going to die, and Liam wasn't about to let that sacrifice mean nothing. He pulled into the lot, killed the engine, and sat in the dark. His phone buzzed. Not the burner, his regular phone. Unknown number. He answered. Hello? Mr. Carter. Richard Dane's voice, calm, smooth, like they were old friends catching up. I think it's time we had a conversation. I've got nothing to say to you. That's unfortunate, because I have quite a bit to say to you. Liam's grip tightened on the phone. I'm listening. You're in possession of something that belongs to Arcadia Motors. I'd like it back. I don't know what you're talking about. Richard laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. Mr. Carter, I admire your loyalty to Ms. Sinclair. Truly. But she's fed you a narrative that's only half true. Project Halo wasn't killed to cover up fraud. It was killed because the technology was dangerous, unstable. Putting it back into the world would be reckless. That why you kept one of the prototypes? Because it was dangerous? Silence. Then Richard's voice, colder now. You're playing a game you don't understand. Walk away while you still can. Or what? Or I'll make sure you regret it. You threatening me? I'm offering you a way out. $50,000. Cash. Tomorrow. You give me the hard drive, and we both move on with our lives. How do you know I have a hard drive? Because Marcus Reed was sloppy and sentimental. He hid that drive thinking someone would find it and play hero. But heroes don't last long in the real world, Mr. Carter. They just die pointless deaths. Liam's jaw clenched. You killed him. Marcus Reed died in a tragic accident. Nothing more. You're full of shit. Richard sighed. I'll give you 24 hours to reconsider. After that, my offer expires. And trust me, you don't want to see what happens next. The line went dead. Liam sat in the truck, staring at the phone. 24 hours. He called Ava. The burner rang 6 times before she picked up. Liam? Richard just called me. He knows about the hard drive. Shit. Yeah, he gave me 24 hours to hand it over. What did you say? I didn't say anything. I hung up. Ava was quiet for a moment. Where are you now? At the garage. Get out of there, now. If Richard knows you have the drive, he's not going to wait 24 hours. He's going to send someone tonight. I'm not running. Liam, I'm not running. Not from this, not from him. Ava exhaled slowly. Then we end this. Tonight. How? Meet me at the old industrial park off Highway 12, east side. There's a warehouse at the back. Red door. Be there in an hour. What's the plan? The plan is we stop letting Richard control the narrative. We take this public. We burn him before he burns us. You sure about this? No? But I'm doing it anyway. She hung up. Liam sat there for another minute, gripping the steering wheel. Then he started the engine and drove toward the industrial park. Whatever was about to happen, there was no turning back now. The industrial park looked like the kind of place people went to disappear. Rows of abandoned warehouses stretched across cracked asphalt, their windows either boarded up or shattered. Weeds pushed through the pavement. A rusted chain-link fence sagged along the perimeter, held up more by habit than actual structural integrity. The whole place smelled like diesel and rot. Liam pulled his truck past the main entrance, headlights cutting through the dark as he searched for the red door Ava had mentioned. Most of the buildings looked identical, gray concrete blocks with loading docks and graffiti tags that had faded into ghosts of their original colors. He found it at the back, a warehouse smaller than the others, set apart from the rest. The red door was so faded it looked pink in the moonlight, but it was the only one that fit Ava's description. Liam killed the engine, grabbed the hard drive from the glove compartment, and climbed out. The silence hit him first. No traffic sounds, no distant voices, just the wind rattling loose sheet metal somewhere in the dark. He walked to the door, tried the handle. Locked. Before he could knock, it swung open from the inside. Ava stood there, backlit by a single hanging bulb that cast more shadows than light. She looked worse than she had at the diner. Her jacket was gone. Her shirt had a tear near the collar. There was a bruise forming along her jawline. What happened to you? Liam asked. Richard's people caught up with me an hour ago. I convinced them to let me go. Convinced them how? Does it matter? Liam stepped inside. The warehouse was mostly empty. Concrete floor, exposed rafters, piles of old pallets stacked against the walls. In the center of the space sat a folding table with a laptop and what looked like a portable satellite uplink. What is all this? Liam asked. Our insurance policy. Ava walked over to the table, opened the laptop. We're going live in 20 minutes. Live where? Everywhere. I've got contacts at 3 major news outlets, an independent journalist with a huge following, and a data dump site that specializes in corporate leaks. The second we upload this, it goes out to all of them simultaneously. Liam set the hard drive on the table. You really think going public is going to stop Richard? I think it's the only thing that will. Right now, he controls the narrative. He can threaten us, buy us off, or make us disappear because nobody knows what we know. But once this is out there, once the whole world sees what Arcadia did, he loses that power. Or he doubles down and comes after us anyway. Ava met his eyes. Yeah, that's a possibility too. Liam looked around the warehouse. No exits except the red door, no windows. If Richard's people showed up, they'd be trapped. This feels like a bad idea, Liam said. You got a better one? He didn't, and they both knew it. Ava plugged the hard drive into the laptop, started running diagnostics. Lines of code scrolled across the screen too fast for Liam to follow. She typed commands, pulled up files, cross-referenced data against something she'd already prepared. How long have you been planning this? Liam asked. Since yesterday. I knew Richard wouldn't let this go. I needed a contingency. You always this paranoid? Only when people try to kill me. Liam pulled up a plastic crate, sat down. His phone buzzed. He checked it, expecting another threat from Richard. Instead, it was Julie, Maya's friend's mom. Maya's asking about you. Everything okay? Liam typed back quickly. Yeah, tell her I'll call her in the morning. She's worried. I know. I'll handle it. He pocketed the phone before Julie could respond. You got kids? Ava asked without looking up from the laptop. A daughter. 11. Where is she? Safe. I hope. Ava stopped typing. You hope? She's at a friend's house. Richard doesn't know about her. At least, I don't think he does. If he's desperate enough, he'll find out. Yeah, I know. They worked in silence for a few minutes. Ava uploaded files, organized documents, built a digital package that would blow apart Arcadia's carefully constructed PR image. Liam watched her work, marveling at how calm she seemed. Like this was just another day at the office, instead of corporate espionage that could get them both killed. Why'd you really leave your job? Liam asked. Ava glanced at him. I told you, they reassigned me. That's not what I'm asking. You could have walked away, taken the reassignment, kept your head down. Instead, you're sitting in an abandoned warehouse about to commit career suicide. Why? Ava stopped typing, leaned back in her chair, stared at the screen like it held answers she hadn't found yet. You ever work somewhere long enough that you forget why you started? She said finally. Yeah, I joined Arcadia because I thought I could make a difference. Thought if I worked hard enough, played by the rules, eventually I'd get a seat at the table where decisions actually mattered. 8 years. That's how long it took me to realize the table doesn't exist. It's just people like Richard making backroom deals and calling it strategy. So this is revenge. No, this is accountability. There's a difference. Liam wasn't sure he believed that, but he didn't argue. The laptop beeped. Ava checked the screen, nodded. We're ready. Files are queued. All I have to do is hit send. Then why haven't you? Because once I do this, there's no taking it back. Richard goes down, Arcadia takes a hit, people lose jobs, investors lose money, the whole thing explodes. And that's a problem? It's a consequence. I just want to make sure we're ready for it. Liam stood, walked over to the table. Marcus Reed wrote that note knowing he was going to die. He hid the hard drive hoping someone would find it and do exactly this. You really think he'd want us to hesitate now? Ava looked at the note lying beside the laptop, the shaky handwriting, the desperate plea from a dead man. No, she said quietly. I don't think he would. She moved the cursor over the send button. Before she could click, the red door exploded inward. 3 men in dark suits poured through the opening, guns drawn, professional, efficient, the kind of people who didn't waste time with warnings. Liam grabbed Ava, pulled her behind the table as the first shot cracked through the air. The laptop screen shattered. Sparks flew. The hanging bulb swung wildly, casting strobe light shadows across the warehouse. Down! Liam yelled. They hit the floor as another shot punched through the space where Ava's head had been a second earlier. One of the men moved forward, weapon trained on the table. Mr. Carter, Miss Sinclair, step out where we can see you. Hands up. Liam's heart was hammering so hard he could feel it in his throat. He looked at Ava. Her face was pale, but her jaw was set. She reached into her jacket, pulled out something small and metallic. A USB drive. She pressed it into Liam's hand. Back up, she whispered. Everything's on here. If I don't make it out, don't talk like that. If I don't make it out, finish this. Before Liam could respond, Ava stood up, hands raised. Don't shoot, she said. The lead gunman gestured with his weapon. Step away from the table, slowly. Ava moved forward, putting herself between Liam and the gunman. Where's the hard drive? The gunman asked. Destroyed. It was in the laptop when you shot it. The man glanced at the shattered laptop, then back at Ava. You're lying. Check for yourself. One of the other gunmen moved to the table, kicked the laptop onto its side. Pieces of circuit board and broken plastic scattered across the floor. He crouched down, sifted through the wreckage. Drive's toast, he said. Fried. The lead gunman didn't lower his weapon. Where's the data? Gone, Ava said. You had it backed up. Maybe, but you'll never find it. The gunman stepped closer. Mr. Dane was very clear. We bring back the data, or we bring back proof it's been destroyed. One way or another, this ends tonight. Then I guess we're at an impasse, Ava said. The gunman raised his weapon, aiming at her chest. Liam didn't think. He lunged forward, grabbed a piece of broken pallet from the floor, and swung it like a baseball bat. It connected with the gunman's arm. The gun went off, the shot wild, punching a hole in the ceiling. The gunman stumbled back, cursing, and Liam tackled him before he could recover. They hit the ground hard. Liam wasn't a fighter. He was a mechanic who spent his days under cars, not trading punches. But desperation made people do stupid things, and right now, desperation was all he had. He landed one solid hit to the gunman's jaw before someone grabbed him from behind, hauled him off, and slammed him face first into the concrete. Pain exploded across his cheek. Blood filled his mouth. He tried to get up, but a boot pressed down on his back, pinning him. "Stay down," a voice said. Liam turned his head just enough to see Ava. She was on her knees, hands behind her head, a gun pressed to the base of her skull. The lead gunman stood over Liam, rubbing his jaw where Liam had hit him. "That was stupid," the gunman said. "Yeah, well, I'm full of stupid ideas tonight." The gunman kicked him in the ribs, hard. Liam gasped, curled in on himself, trying to breathe through the pain. "Where's the backup?" the gunman asked. Liam didn't answer. Another kick, this one harder. "Where is the backup?" Liam spat blood onto the floor. "Go to hell." The gunman crouched down, grabbed Liam by the hair, forced his head up. "You think you're protecting her? You think any of this matters? Mr. Dane's going to get what he wants. He always does. The only question is how much you two suffer before he gets it." "Then I guess we're going to suffer," Liam said. The gunman stared at him for a long moment. Then he let go, stood up, and walked over to Ava. "You got 5 seconds to tell me where the backup is," the gunman said, "or I put a bullet in his head." Ava's eyes met Liam's. She looked terrified, but she didn't speak. 5, the gunman said. Liam tried to push himself up, the boot on his back pressed down harder. 4. Ava's hands were shaking. 3. Liam thought about Maya, about the promise he'd made to call her in the morning, about the life he'd built after everything fell apart, and how close he was to losing it all again. 2. "Wait," Ava said. The gunman stopped. "It's in the truck," Ava said quietly. "Glove compartment. Another USB drive." The gunman gestured to one of his men. "Check it." The second gunman holstered his weapon, headed for the door. The lead gunman kept his gun trained on Ava. "If you're lying, he dies first. Then you. Understand?" Ava nodded. They waited. Liam's ribs ached. His face throbbed. The concrete floor was cold against his cheek. He tried to catch Ava's eye, but she was staring at the floor, her jaw tight. The second gunman returned 2 minutes later, empty-handed. "Nothing in the glove compartment," he said. "Nothing in the cab. I checked everywhere." The lead gunman's expression went cold. He turned back to Ava. "You lied. I told you what you wanted to hear." "Big mistake." He raised the gun, and then the warehouse lights exploded. Not literally, though the hanging bulb shattered a second later. But suddenly the space was flooded with white light from outside. Headlights, multiple vehicles, engines roaring as they surrounded the building. A voice boomed through a megaphone. "This is the police. Drop your weapons and come out with your hands up." The gunmen froze. The lead one swore, lowered his weapon slightly. "How? I called them before you got here," Ava said. "Told them there was an armed break-in at this location. Gave them the address. Figured they'd show up eventually." The gunman's face twisted with rage. He raised the weapon again. "You pull that trigger, you're going to prison," Ava said. "Or you can walk away and take your chances with Richard. Your call." The gunman hesitated. The megaphone voice came again. "This is your final warning. Drop your weapons and exit the building." The lead gunman looked at his men, some silent calculation happening behind his eyes. Then he lowered the gun, stepped back. "This isn't over," he said. "Yeah, it is," Ava said. The gunmen moved toward the door. The lead one stopped, turned back. "Mr. Dane's going to hear about this." "Good," Ava said. "Tell him I'm just getting started." The gunman disappeared through the red door. A moment later, Liam heard shouting outside. Orders barked through the megaphone. Engines revving, tires squealing as the gunman's vehicle took off. The boot on Liam's back lifted. He pushed himself up, gasping, clutching his ribs. Ava was already on her feet, moving to the shattered laptop. She sifted through the wreckage, pulled out a small black chip. "The drive survived," she said. Liam stared at her. "You planned this whole thing." "Not the part where they shot the laptop. But yeah, most of it. You knew they'd come. I was counting on it. The police showing up was the contingency. The data getting out was always the goal." Liam shook his head, wincing at the pain. "You're insane." "Probably." Two uniformed officers entered through the red door, weapons drawn. They swept the room, confirmed it was clear, then approached Liam and Ava. "You two all right?" one of them asked. "We've been better," Liam said. The officer looked around the warehouse. "We got a call about an armed intrusion. Who were those guys?" "Private security," Ava said, "working for Arcadia Motors. They were trying to recover stolen property." "Was it stolen?" "That's complicated." The officer sighed. "You're going to need to come down to the station, both of you. Give statements." "We will," Ava said. "But first, I need to make a phone call." The officer frowned. "Ma'am, it's urgent. 5 minutes, please." The officer looked at his partner, who shrugged. "Fine, 5 minutes, but don't leave the building." Ava pulled out her phone, not the burner, her regular phone, and dialed a number. It rang twice before someone picked up. "This is Ava Sinclair," she said. "I'm sending you a file. Everything you need to know about Project Halo, Arcadia Motors, and Richard Dane. I need you to publish it tonight." She paused, listening. "Yes, I understand the risks. Publish it anyway." Another pause. "Thank you." She hung up, pulled the black chip from the ruined laptop, inserted it into her phone, and hit send. The upload bar appeared, started moving. Liam watched it climb. 10%, 20, 30. "What happens when it finishes?" he asked. "Richard loses," Ava said, "and Marcus Reed finally gets justice." 50%. 60. Liam thought about the note, the shaky handwriting, the man who'd died trying to stop Richard Dane and failed. Until now. 80%. 90. 100. The screen flashed. Upload complete. Ava pocketed her phone. "It's done." Liam exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Just like that?" "Just like that." The officers returned. "Time's up. Let's go." They followed the officers outside. The industrial park was swarming with police cruisers now, their lights painting the night in red and blue. An ambulance idled nearby. Paramedics approached, insisting on checking Liam's injuries. He let them. Didn't have the energy to argue. As they cleaned the blood off his face and wrapped his ribs, he watched Ava give her statement to a detective. She looked exhausted. But there was something else in her expression. Relief, maybe. Or vindication. The detective finished with Ava, moved to Liam, asked the same questions. Who were the gunmen? Why were they there? What were they after? Liam told the truth, all of it, the cars, the hard drive. Richard Dane, Project Halo. The detective listened, taking notes, his expression skeptical. "That's quite a story," the detective said. "It's the truth." "We'll look into it, but for now you're free to go, just don't leave town." Liam nodded. Ava walked over as the detective moved on to interview the officers who'd responded first. "You okay?" she asked. "Couple broken ribs, nothing permanent." "I'm sorry. I didn't think they'd actually shoot." "Yeah, well, lesson learned." They stood there for a moment, watching the chaos around them. "Police?" "Paramedics." Crime scene tape going up around the warehouse. "What happens now?" Liam asked. "Now we wait. The story will break in a few hours. By morning, every major outlet will be running it. Arcadia's stock will tank, the board will demand answers, and Richard will have to answer for what he did. You think it'll be enough? I don't know. But it's more than Marcus Reed ever got." Liam thought about that. About justice and revenge and the difference between the two. "What about us, Bites?" he asked. "What about us?" "Richard's not going to just disappear. He's got lawyers, money, connections. This might slow him down, but it won't stop him." Ava looked at him. "Then we keep fighting until he's got nothing left." "That could take years." "Yeah, probably." Liam shook his head. "You really are insane." "Takes one to know one." An officer approached, told them they were cleared to leave. gave them each a card with a case number and instructions to follow up in a few days. Liam and Ava walked to the parking lot. His truck was still there, untouched. Ava's car was gone, probably towed by Richard's people before the police arrived. "You need a ride?" Liam asked. "Yeah, that'd be good." They climbed into the truck. Liam started the engine, pulled out of the lot. The drive was quiet. Ava stared out the window, watching the city lights blur past. Liam focused on the road, trying not to think about how close they'd come to dying tonight. "Where am I taking you?" he asked. "Hotel? Somewhere Richard won't think to look. You got a preference?" "Anywhere cheap. I'm probably going to be unemployed by morning." Liam drove to a budget motel on the edge of town, the kind of place that rented rooms by the hour and didn't ask questions. Ava paid cash at the front desk, got a key, and headed for her room. Liam followed, making sure she got inside safely. At the door, she stopped, turned back. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not walking away. Most people would have." "Yeah, well, I'm not most people." Ava smiled. It was the first real smile he'd seen from her. "No, you're not." She went inside, closed the door. Liam stood there for a moment, then walked back to his truck. The drive home felt longer than it should have. His ribs ached. His face throbbed. He was running on adrenaline and coffee and sheer stubbornness. But as he pulled into his driveway, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Maybe Richard would come after them. Maybe the whole thing would blow up in their faces. Maybe tomorrow everything would fall apart. But tonight, they'd won, and that was enough. He pulled out his phone, called Julie. "Liam, it's almost midnight." "I know, sorry. Can I talk to Maya?" There was a pause, then shuffling sounds. Maya's voice came on the line, thick with sleep. "Dad?" "Hey, kiddo, sorry to wake you. Are you okay? Julie said you had work stuff." "Yeah, it's handled now." "You sure?" "I'm sure. Go back to sleep. I'll pick you up in the morning." "Okay. Love you, Dad." "Love you too." He hung up, sat in the truck for another minute. Then he went inside, collapsed on the couch, and let sleep take him. Somewhere across town, in a high-rise office overlooking the city, Richard Dane stared at his computer screen as the first news alert popped up. Breaking. Leaked documents reveal corporate fraud at Arcadia Motors. He read the headline twice. Then he picked up his phone and made a call. "It's out," he said. "Everything, the prototypes, Project Halo, Reed's death. All of it." The voice on the other end was calm, too calm. "Can you contain it?" "No." "Then we move to Plan B." "Plan B involves eliminating loose ends." "I'm aware." Richard hung up, stood at the window, watched the city below, oblivious to the storm about to break. He'd built his career on calculated risks, on knowing when to push and when to pull back. But Liam Carter and Ava Sinclair had just forced his hand, and Richard Dane didn't lose. Not now, not ever. He made another call, this one to someone who specialized in problems that couldn't be solved with lawyers or money. "I need you to send a message," Richard said. "Make it loud." The person on the other end didn't ask questions. They never did. Liam woke to the sound of his phone vibrating against the coffee table. Sunlight stabbed through the blinds, and his entire body felt like it had been run through a wood chipper. His ribs screamed when he tried to sit up. His face was swollen on one side, the bruise already turning purple. He grabbed the phone. 23 missed calls, 15 text messages, most from numbers he didn't recognize. The first text was from Ava, sent at 6 in the morning. "It's everywhere. Check the news." Liam opened his browser. The headlines hit him all at once. Arcadia Motors exec accused of cover-up in engineer's death. Leaked documents expose multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Project Halo, the prototype program that was supposed to stay buried. He scrolled through article after article. Every major outlet had picked up the story. The data Ava had uploaded was being dissected by journalists, tech analysts, and legal experts. Marcus Reed's name was everywhere. So was Richard Dane's. Arcadia's stock had dropped 18% in pre-market trading. The board had issued a statement promising a full internal investigation. Richard Dane's office had released a terse denial, calling the allegations baseless and defamatory. But the damage was done. The truth was out, and no amount of corporate spin could put it back in the box. Liam's phone rang. Another unknown number. He answered. Mr. Carter? A woman's voice, professional, clipped. This is Rebecca Marsh from Channel 7 News. I'd like to speak with you about your involvement in the Arcadia Motors leak. No comment, Liam said, and hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Different number, same request. He turned the phone off, tossed it onto the couch, and limped to the kitchen. Coffee first. Then he'd figure out how to deal with the media circus that had apparently decided to camp on his doorstep. He was halfway through his first cup when someone knocked on the door. Liam froze. Looked through the window. A news van was parked on the street. A reporter stood on his front step, camera crew behind her. He closed the blinds, stayed quiet, waited for them to leave. They didn't. The knocking continued. Then his phone started buzzing again. He'd forgotten to turn off the landline. He ignored it all. Drank his coffee. Tried to think. The garage. He needed to check the garage. The 12 cars were still sitting in the lot, and if reporters were staking out his house, they'd definitely found the cars by now. He grabbed his keys, slipped out the back door, and cut through the neighbor's yard to avoid the news crew. By the time he reached the garage, 3 more vans had arrived. Reporters swarmed the lot, cameras rolling, questions flying at anyone who got close. Liam stayed back, watching from across the street. A black sedan pulled up. Ava stepped out, sunglasses covering half her face. She was wearing the same clothes from last night. Looked like she hadn't slept. The reporters descended on her immediately. Ms. Sinclair, is it true you were fired from Arcadia? Did Richard Dane threaten you? What was on the hard drive? Ava ignored them all, walked straight to the garage, spotted Liam across the street, and gestured for him to follow. Liam crossed over, pushed through the crowd. A microphone got shoved in his face. Mr. Carter, how does it feel to expose one of the biggest corporate frauds in... He shouldered past, followed Ava inside the garage, and locked the door behind them. The noise outside muffled, but didn't disappear. Jesus, Liam said. How long have they been here? Since dawn. They found my hotel around 5. I've been dodging cameras ever since. This is insane. This is what happens when you blow up a billion-dollar company. Liam leaned against the workbench, wincing as the movement pulled at his ribs. You hear from Richard? Not directly, but his lawyers sent me a cease and desist an hour ago. Threatened to sue for defamation, theft of proprietary information, and about 6 other things I didn't bother reading. Can they do that? They can try. Won't stick. Everything I leaked was factual and obtained legally. Legally? You broke into a company database. Ava smiled. I had access to the database. I just used it in ways they didn't anticipate. Liam shook his head. You're going to end up in prison. Maybe. But Richard's going down first. Outside, the noise level spiked. Liam looked through the grimy window. More vans, more cameras. A helicopter circled overhead. This is going to get worse before it gets better, Ava said. Yeah, I figured. Ava pulled out her phone, checked something, then pocketed it again. I got a call from Marcus Reed's daughter this morning. That stopped Liam cold. You found her? She found me. Saw her father's name in the news. She's 23 now, lives upstate. She wants to meet. What did you tell her? I told her the truth. That her father didn't die in an accident, that he was trying to expose fraud and someone killed him for it. Liam let out a slow breath. How'd she take it? About as well as you'd expect. She cried. Asked questions I couldn't answer. Then she thanked me. For what? For not letting him die for nothing. They stood there in silence for a moment, the weight of that settling between them. She deserves to know everything, Liam said. Not just what's in the news, the whole story. I know. I'm meeting her tomorrow. You should come. Me? I didn't know her father. No. But you're the reason we're here. You're the one who wouldn't let this go. Liam thought about that. About the 12 cars that had landed in his lap by accident. About the choices he'd made since then, the ones that had brought him here. Okay, he said. I'll come. Ava's phone buzzed. She checked it, frowned. The board just announced an emergency meeting. Richard's been suspended pending investigation. That's good, right? It's a start, but suspension isn't the same as fired. He still has allies, people who owe him favors. He's going to fight this. Let him. Ava looked at Liam. You sound confident. I sound tired. There's a difference. She almost smiled. Fair enough? Another knock on the door, louder this time, more insistent. Mr. Carter, we know you're in there. Liam groaned. I can't stay here. They're not going to leave. You could give them a statement, get it over with. And say what? Hi, I accidentally stumbled into corporate fraud and almost got killed? That'll go over great. It's the truth. Yeah, well, the truth doesn't pay the bills. Ava studied him. You worried about the garage? I'm worried about everything. My daughter, my business, the fact that Richard Dane probably has a target on my back. He does. But so does everyone else now. The second this story broke, Richard lost his best weapon. He can't make you disappear without drawing attention. That's not as comforting as you think. Ava's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, then pocketed it without reading. I need to go. I've got a meeting with my lawyer in an hour. You lawyered up? You should too. This isn't over. Richard's going to come at us with everything he's got. Great. I can't afford a lawyer. I'll send you a name, pro bono. He owes me a favor. Before Liam could respond, the door rattled. Someone was trying the handle. Time to go, Ava said. They slipped out the back exit, cutting through the alley behind the garage. The reporters out front didn't notice. By the time they realized their targets had vanished, Liam and Ava were already 2 blocks away. Ava's car was parked in a grocery store lot. She unlocked it, paused before getting in. You going to be okay? She asked. Ask me tomorrow. I'm serious. So am I. Liam rubbed his face, felt the bruised pulse under his fingers. I've been through worse. I'll manage. Ava nodded. Call me if anything happens. Anything at all. Yeah, you too. She drove off, leaving Liam standing in the parking lot. He pulled out his phone, still off, and turned it back on. The notifications flooded in immediately. Calls, texts, emails, most from reporters. A few from people he hadn't talked to in years, suddenly interested in his life now that it was newsworthy. One text stood out. From Julie. Maya saw the news. She's asking questions. You need to talk to her. Liam's stomach dropped. He'd wanted to keep Maya out of this, wanted to protect her from the mess he'd stepped into. But of course she'd seen the news. Every kid in her school had probably seen it by now. He called Julie. She picked up on the first ring. Liam, how bad is it? She's confused, scared. She saw your name in the headlines and doesn't understand why people are calling you a whistleblower. I'll come get her, explain everything. Good, because I don't know what to tell her. Liam drove to Julie's house, keeping an eye on the rearview mirror for any news vans that might be tailing him. The streets were clear, for now. Julie met him at the door, arms crossed. You look terrible. Thanks. What happened to your face? Long story. I've got time. I don't. Liam stepped inside. Maya was sitting on the couch, staring at her phone. She looked up when she saw him, and her expression was hard to read. Not angry, not scared. Something in between. Hey, kiddo, Liam said. Maya stood up. Dad, what's going on? Can we talk outside? She followed him to the backyard. Julie stayed inside, giving them space. Liam sat on the porch steps. Maya sat beside him, waiting. You saw the news, Liam said. Yeah. What did it say? That you helped expose some big company for fraud, that people died because of it. She looked at him. Is that true? Yeah, it's true. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to worry. I'm worrying now. Liam sighed. Remember those cars that showed up at the garage? The fancy ones? Yeah. Turns out they weren't just junk. One of them had evidence hidden inside. Evidence that proved someone at the company was covering up a crime. What kind of crime? They killed a man. Made it look like an accident. He was trying to stop them from doing something dangerous, and they killed him to keep him quiet. Maya absorbed that. So you went after them? I didn't plan to. It just happened. But you could have walked away. Yeah. Why didn't you? Liam thought about that. About Marcus Reed's note. About Ava's determination. About the moment he'd decided that turning a blind eye was worse than taking a risk. Because someone had to, Liam said. And it turned out that someone was me. Maya was quiet for a long time. Then she leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. "Are we in danger?" she asked quietly. Liam wanted to lie, wanted to tell her everything was fine, but Maya deserved the truth. "I don't know," he said. "Maybe, but I'm doing everything I can to keep us safe. Okay? Okay? Yeah, I trust you." Liam felt something tight in his chest loosen. He put his arm around her, pulled her close. "I love you, kiddo." "Love you too, Dad." They sat there for a while, not talking, just being. Eventually, Maya pulled away. "Can I go back to school tomorrow?" "You want to?" "Yeah. Everyone's going to be talking about it anyway. Might as well face it." Liam smiled despite himself. "When'd you get so tough?" "I learned from you." They went back inside. Liam thanked Julie, promised to keep her updated, and drove Maya home. The news vans were gone from the house, for now. Liam parked in the driveway, and they went inside together. Maya went to her room to do homework. Liam collapsed on the couch, every part of him aching. His phone rang. He almost didn't answer. But the caller ID said Ava, so he picked up. "Yeah?" "We've got a problem." Liam sat up, ignoring the pain in his ribs. "What kind of problem?" "Someone broke into my hotel room, tore the place apart, took my laptop." "When?" "While I was meeting with my lawyer. I just got back." "Did they take anything else?" "I don't know yet. But Liam, they left a message." "What kind of message?" Ava's voice was tight. Written on the bathroom mirror in lipstick, it said, "You're next." Liam's blood went cold. "Get out of there, now." "I'm already in my car, heading to a different hotel." "No, don't go to a hotel. Come here." "Liam, I'm serious. You stay in a hotel, Richard's people will find you. Come here. I've got a spare room." Ava was silent for a moment. "You sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure." "Okay. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Liam hung up, stood, and checked the locks on every door and window. Then he went to the garage, grabbed a tire iron, and set it by the front door, just in case. Maya came out of her room. "Dad, you okay?" "Yeah, fine. Just a friend's coming to stay for a few days." "What kind of friend?" "The kind who's in trouble." Maya looked at the tire iron by the door. "Are we in trouble too?" Liam wanted to lie, but he couldn't, not to her. "Maybe," he said, "but we're going to be okay." Maya nodded slowly. Then she went back to her room. Liam stood in the hallway, listening to the sound of her music playing through the door. He thought about Richard Dane, about the message on the mirror, about the fact that this fight was far from over. But for the first time in years, Liam wasn't afraid. He was angry. And anger, he was learning, could be a powerful thing. Ava arrived 18 minutes later, carrying a duffel bag and looking over her shoulder every few seconds. Liam let her in, locked the door behind her, and showed her to the spare room. "You didn't have to do this," Ava said. "Yeah, I did." She set her bag down, sat on the edge of the bed. "Richard's escalating, the break-in, the message. He's trying to scare us into backing down." "Is it working?" "No, but it's going to get worse." "Let it." Ava looked at him. "You mean that?" "I'm done running. I'm done letting people like Richard push me around. He wants a fight? Fine. Let's give him one." Ava almost smiled. "You know, when I first met you, I thought you were just some mechanic who got in over his head." "I'm just some mechanic who got in over his head." "No, you're not." She stood, walked to the window, looked out at the street. "You're the guy who didn't walk away, and that's rare." Liam didn't know what to say to that, so he didn't say anything. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Ava turned back. "I'm meeting Marcus Reed's daughter tomorrow at 2, coffee shop in Riverside. You still coming?" "Yeah, I'll be there." "Good. She deserves to hear this from both of us." Ava went to her room. Liam stayed in the hallway, thinking. Tomorrow, they'd meet Marcus Reed's daughter. They'd tell her what her father had died for. They'd give her the closure she deserved. And then they'd finish what Marcus had started. Because Richard Dane had made a mistake. He'd assumed that fear would be enough to stop them. But fear only worked on people who had something left to lose. And Liam Carter had already lost everything once. He wasn't about to let it happen again. The next day, Liam and Ava drove to Riverside in silence. The coffee shop was small, tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner. The kind of place that survived on regulars and didn't care about trends. They arrived early, ordered coffee, sat at a table near the back. At 2 o'clock, a young woman walked through the door. She was tall, with dark hair pulled into a ponytail. She wore jeans and a university sweatshirt. She looked around nervously, spotted Ava, and walked over. "Miss Sinclair?" she asked. "Call me Ava." Ava stood, gestured to Liam. "This is Liam Carter. He's the one who found the evidence." The woman shook Liam's hand. Her grip was firm, but her hand was shaking. "I'm Claire Reed." They sat down. Claire ordered tea but didn't drink it, just held the cup like she needed something to anchor her. "Thank you for meeting me," Claire said. "I know this is a lot." "It's the least we could do," Ava said. Claire took a breath. "I need to know what happened. The real story. Not what's in the news." Liam and Ava exchanged a glance. Then Ava started talking. She told Claire everything. Project Halo, the prototypes, the cover-up, Marcus Reed's discovery, his death. Claire listened without interrupting. Her face stayed composed, but her eyes filled with tears. When Ava finished, Claire wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I always knew something was wrong," Claire said quietly. "The accident never made sense. My dad was the safest driver I knew. He never fell asleep at the wheel. Never." "He didn't," Liam said. "He was trying to protect you, protect everyone." Claire looked at him. "Did he suffer?" Liam hesitated. He didn't know. The report said single vehicle collision. But the truth? The truth was probably worse. "I don't know," Liam said. "I'm sorry." Claire nodded. "Thank you for being honest." She reached into her bag, pulled out a photo. It showed a man in his 40s, smiling, with his arm around a little girl. "Claire." "This was taken a week before he died," Claire said. "He'd just finished a big project at work. He was so proud. Said it was going to change everything." She set the photo on the table. "I want to help," Claire said. Ava frowned. "Help how?" "However I can. Testifying, talking to the media. I don't care. My father died trying to expose these people. I'm not going to let his death be for nothing." Liam looked at Ava. She looked back at him. "It's going to be dangerous," Ava said. "I don't care. Richard Dane is going to come after you. He's already threatened us." "Then let him. I'm not afraid." Liam saw something in Claire's eyes, the same thing he'd seen in Ava's. Determination, anger, a refusal to back down. "Okay," Liam said. "You want to help? Here's how." They spent the next hour planning. Claire would go public with her father's story. She'd do interviews, share the photo, humanize the man behind the headlines. Ava would continue working with journalists, feeding them information, keeping the pressure on Arcadia, and Liam would hold on to the cars. The evidence, the physical proof that couldn't be erased or denied. By the time they left the coffee shop, they had a plan. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't safe. But it was a start. As they walked to their cars, Claire stopped. "Thank you," she said, "both of you, for not giving up." "We're not done yet," Ava said. Claire smiled. It was a sad smile, but it was real. "Neither am I." She drove off, leaving Liam and Ava standing in the parking lot. "That kid's got guts," Liam said. "Yeah, she does." They got into Ava's car, drove back toward Liam's house. Halfway there, Ava's phone rang. She put it on speaker. "This is Ava." "Miss Sinclair." The voice was calm, professional. "This is Catherine Wells from the Arcadia Board of Directors. I'd like to request a meeting." Ava glanced at Liam. "What kind of meeting?" "The board has concluded its preliminary review of the allegations against Richard Dane. We'd like to discuss next steps, including potential legal action." "Against who?" "Against Mr. Dane, and anyone else involved in the Project Halo cover-up." Ava pulled over to the side of the road. "You're serious?" "Completely. The board is prepared to cooperate fully with law enforcement, but we'd like to hear your account first, directly." "When?" "Tomorrow. 10 a.m. Arcadia headquarters." Ava looked at Liam. He nodded. "I'll be there," Ava said. "Bring Mr. Carter if you'd like. The board would like to thank him personally." Ava hung up. They sat in silence for a moment. "They're actually going to do it," Liam said. "They're going to go after Richard." "Looks like it. So we won." Ava didn't answer right away. She stared out the windshield, hands gripping the wheel. Maybe, she said finally, or maybe this is just the beginning. Arcadia Motors headquarters looked exactly like the kind of building that housed secrets. All glass and steel, reflecting the morning sky back at itself like a mirror that refused to show what was really inside. Liam stood in the parking lot, staring up at it, while Ava checked her phone for the third time in 5 minutes. "You nervous?" Liam asked. "No," Ava said. Then after a pause, "Yes, maybe. I don't know." "That's convincing. I spent 8 years trying to get the board's attention. Now they want to talk, and I have no idea if this is genuine or just damage control." "Guess we'll find out." They walked through the glass doors into a lobby that smelled like expensive coffee and corporate ambition. The receptionist checked their names against a list, handed them visitor badges, and directed them to the executive floor. The elevator ride up felt longer than it should have. Liam caught his reflection in the polished steel doors. He'd tried to clean up, borrowed a shirt from a neighbor that actually fit, shaved, did his best to look like someone who belonged in a building like this, but the bruise on his face was still visible, and his hands still had grease under the nails that no amount of scrubbing would fully remove. He looked like exactly what he was, a mechanic pretending to be something else. The elevator doors opened onto a conference room that could have fit Liam's entire garage inside it twice. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. A long table dominated the center, surrounded by leather chairs that probably cost more than his truck. 5 people sat at the table. Liam recognized one of them from the news, Catherine Wells, the board member who'd called Ava. She was in her 60s, silver hair pulled back, wearing a suit that looked like it had been tailored specifically for moments like this. "Ms. Sinclair," Catherine said, standing. "Thank you for coming. And you must be Mr. Carter." Liam shook her hand. Her grip was firm, businesslike. "Please sit," Catherine said. They sat. The other board members introduced themselves, names Liam immediately forgot, titles that sounded important, faces that all blurred together into one collective expression of controlled concern. Catherine folded her hands on the table. "Let me start by saying the board is deeply troubled by the allegations that have come to light. Project Halo was before most of our tenure, but that doesn't absolve us of responsibility." "Troubled," Ava repeated. "That's one word for it. We're prepared to take action," Catherine continued. "Richard Dane has been suspended pending a full investigation. We've retained an independent law firm to review the evidence, and we're cooperating fully with law enforcement." "What kind of action?" Liam asked. Catherine looked at him. "Termination, criminal referral, civil suit to recover damages, everything within our power." "That's a lot of words," Liam said, "but none of them mean anything unless you actually follow through." One of the other board members, a younger man with the kind of jaw that suggested he'd never been told no in his life, leaned forward. "Mr. Carter, I assure you, we take this very seriously." "Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're scrambling to save face. Richard screwed up, got caught. Now you're throwing him under the bus to protect the company." "That's not—" "Let him finish," Catherine said quietly. Liam looked at her, then at the rest of the board. Marcus Reed died 5 years ago trying to expose what Richard was doing. Nobody listened. Nobody cared. Now his daughter's grown up without a father, and you want me to believe you're suddenly interested in justice?" The room went quiet. Catherine didn't look away. "You're right. We failed Marcus Reed. We failed his family. We failed everyone who trusted this company to do the right thing." She paused. "But we can't change the past. All we can do is try to make the future better." "How?" Ava asked. "By holding Richard accountable, by ensuring this never happens again, and by offering you both our support, financial, legal, whatever you need, to see this through." Liam studied Catherine's face. She looked sincere, but sincerity was easy. Action was harder. "I want Richard arrested," Liam said. "Not suspended, not quietly retired with a golden parachute. Arrested, charged, put on trial." "We're working with the district attorney's office to make that happen," Catherine said. "And Claire Reed, Marcus's daughter? She deserves compensation. A public apology, something that acknowledges what your company took from her." Catherine nodded. "Agreed. We'll arrange a meeting with her, personally." Liam glanced at Ava. She was watching the board members carefully, her expression unreadable. "What do you want, Ava?" Catherine asked. Ava was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I want my job back. That surprised everyone, including Liam. Your job? Catherine repeated. Not the one I had before. I want a position with real authority, oversight, the ability to make sure something like Project Halo never gets buried again. Catherine considered that, looked at the other board members. Some kind of silent conversation happened between them. We can do that, Catherine said finally. Chief Compliance Officer, direct report to the board, full access to all projects, budgets, and internal reviews. And a seat at the table, Ava added, not just compliance, strategy. I want a voice in how this company moves forward. Catherine smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. You drive a hard bargain, Ms. Sinclair. I learned from the best. Unfortunately, the best was also a criminal. The meeting lasted another hour. They went over details, timelines, legal strategies. By the end, Liam's head was spinning with clauses and contingencies and corporate jargon that made his brain hurt. But the outcome was clear. Richard was finished. The board was serious. And Ava had just negotiated herself into a position where she could actually change things. As they left the building, Liam turned to her. Chief Compliance Officer? Too much? No, just unexpected. I could have walked away, started over somewhere else, but then Richard wins. The system stays broken, and people like Marcus Reed keep dying for nothing. So you're staying? I'm staying, but on my terms this time. They reached Ava's car. She unlocked it, then paused. What are you going to do? She asked. With the garage, the cars? Liam had been thinking about that. The 12 vehicles were still sitting in his lot. Evidence, technically, but also an opportunity. I'm going to fix them, Liam said. Properly. Then I'm going to sell them. All of them? All except one. Let me guess. The black Maserati. Liam smiled. Maya made me promise. Ava laughed. It was the first time Liam had heard her really laugh. You're a good dad, you know that? I'm trying. That's more than most people do. She got in the car, but before she could close the door, Liam stopped her. Ava? Yeah? Thank you for not letting me walk away from this. You never would have. I just gave you an excuse. She drove off, leaving Liam standing in the parking lot. He pulled out his phone, called Julie. Hey, I'm done with the meeting. Can I pick up Maya? She's at school. But Liam, you should come over. There's something you need to see. What kind of something? Just come over. Julie hung up before he could ask more questions. Liam drove to Julie's house, a knot of worry forming in his stomach. When he arrived, Julie was standing on the porch, holding her phone. What's going on? Liam asked. Julie handed him the phone. On the screen was a news article from an hour ago. Richard Dane arrested on charges of corporate fraud, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to commit murder. Liam read it twice to make sure he wasn't hallucinating. They actually did it, he said quietly. Turns out when you leak evidence to every major news outlet and the board of directors simultaneously, law enforcement doesn't have much choice, Julie said. Liam scrolled through the article. Richard had been taken into custody that morning. Bail denied. Trial pending. It was over. Actually over. Liam sat down on the porch steps, trying to process it. Julie sat beside him. You okay? Yeah, I think so. Just didn't expect it to happen this fast. The world moves pretty quick when people are paying attention. Liam thought about that. About Marcus Reed dying in the dark. About how long his death had been buried. About how fast everything changed once the light finally reached it. Maya saw the article, Julie said. She's proud of you, just so you know. Liam felt something warm and tight in his chest. She say that? Not in those words, but yeah. They sat there for a while, not talking, just existing in the moment. Eventually, Liam stood. I should get back to work. Got 12 cars to fix. You're really going to restore them? Why not? They're good cars, deserve a second chance. Julie smiled. So do you. The weeks that followed were strange. The media storm eventually died down. The reporters moved on to the next scandal. Richard's trial date was set for 6 months out, which meant Liam and Ava would have to testify. But for now, life returned to something resembling normal. Liam worked on the cars, slowly, methodically, taking his time to do it right. Maya helped on weekends, organizing parts, learning how engines worked, asking questions that reminded Liam why he'd fallen in love with this work in the first place. Ava stopped by occasionally, Never announced, just showed up with coffee and updates on the case. She'd taken the compliance job and was systematically dismantling every shady practice she could find. Turned out there were a lot of them. "You're making enemies," Liam said one afternoon while they sat in the garage, drinking terrible coffee and watching Maya reorganize his tool bench for the third time. "Good. Means I'm doing something right." "You ever worried they'll come after you?" "Every day. But that's the job." Liam studied her. She looked different than she had 2 months ago. Less tired, more settled, like she'd finally found the thing she was supposed to be doing. "You happy?" he asked. Ava considered the question. "I don't know if happy's the right word, but I'm not miserable. That's progress." "Yeah, I guess it is." 3 months after Richard's arrest, Claire Reed came to visit. She showed up unannounced, same as Ava always did, knocked on the garage door while Liam was elbow-deep in the engine of the silver BMW. "Mr. Carter?" Liam wiped his hands, turned around. "Claire, didn't expect to see you." "I hope that's okay. I was in town and I wanted to see where it all started." Liam gestured around the garage. "Not much to see, just a lot of old cars and broken equipment." Claire walked between the vehicles, running her hand along their hoods. "These are the ones my father tried to protect." "Yeah." She stopped at the Audi, the prototype, the one that had started everything. "What are you going to do with this one?" she asked. "I don't know yet. It's evidence. Technically, still belongs to Arcadia, but once the trial's over," he shrugged, "maybe a museum, somewhere people can see it. Remember what happened." Claire nodded. Then she reached into her bag, pulled out an envelope, and handed it to Liam. "What's this?" "A check from the board. Compensation for everything you went through." Liam opened the envelope. The number on the check made his hands shake. "This is too much," he said. "It's not enough, but it's what they approved." Claire paused. "There's a separate fund for me, and for anyone else affected by Project Halo. The board's trying to make things right. You believe them?" "I don't know, but Ava does, and I trust her." Liam folded the envelope, slipped it into his pocket. "Thank you." "No, thank you. You didn't have to do any of this. You could have walked away, but you didn't, and because of that, I finally know the truth about my father." She hugged him. It was quick, awkward, the kind of hug between two people who didn't really know each other, but were connected by something bigger than themselves. When she left, Liam stood in the garage for a long time, staring at the check in his pocket. He thought about Maya's tuition, the overdue rent, the air compressor that still made that expensive noise. He thought about Marcus Reed, about a man who'd died trying to do the right thing, and he thought about the choice he'd made 2 months ago, the one that had led him here. That night, Liam sat Maya down at the kitchen table. "I need to talk to you about something," he said. Maya looked up from her homework. "Am I in trouble?" "No, the opposite, actually." He pulled out the check, set it on the table. "This is from Arcadia, compensation for everything that happened." Maya stared at the number. "Dad, that's a lot of money." "Yeah." "What are you going to do with it?" Liam had thought about that. A lot. Some of it goes to bills, tuition, fixing up the garage properly. But the rest? "I want to set up a fund for kids like you. Kids who lost parents because of corporate greed. Help with college, living expenses, whatever they need." Maya looked at him. "You're serious?" "Yeah, I am. Your mom always said the best way to honor someone's memory is to make sure their story helps other people. I think Marcus Reed's story deserves that." Maya smiled. It was the kind of smile that reminded Liam so much of her mother, it hurt. "I think that's a good idea." "Yeah?" "Yeah." They sat there for a moment. Then Maya went back to her homework, and Liam went back to pretending he wasn't fighting tears. 6 months later, Richard Dane's trial began. Liam testified on the third day, told the jury everything: the cars, the hard drive, the note from Marcus Reed, the gunmen in the warehouse. Richard's lawyers tried to tear him apart on cross-examination, called him opportunistic, suggested he'd fabricated evidence, implied he was trying to profit from a tragedy. Liam didn't flinch. He told the truth. Let the jury decide what to do with it. Ava testified the next day. She was calmer than Liam had been, more precise. She walked the jury through the documents, the timelines, the cover-up. Piece by piece, she dismantled Richard's defense. Claire testified last. She talked about her father, about the man he'd been, about the hole his death had left in her life. By the time she finished, half the jury was crying. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When the verdict came back, Liam was in the garage, working on the last of the 12 cars, a Mercedes that had needed a new transmission and a complete electrical overhaul. His phone rang. Ava. "It's over?" she said. "Over how?" "Guilty. On all counts." Liam set down his wrench. "All of them?" "Every single one. The judge denied bail pending sentencing. Richard's going to prison, Liam. For a long time." Liam closed his eyes. Felt something he hadn't felt in months. Relief. Pure, unfiltered relief. "We did it," he said quietly. "Yeah, we did." They talked for a few more minutes. Ava had to go. Reporters were waiting, and she'd promised to make a statement. But before she hung up, she said something that stuck with Liam. "You know what the crazy thing is? 6 months ago, I thought my career was over. Thought I'd lost everything. But I was wrong. I didn't lose anything. I just stopped pretending the broken system was worth saving. And now? Now I get to build something better. Turns out that's a lot more satisfying than climbing a ladder someone else built." She hung up. Liam stood in the garage, surrounded by cars that had once been written off as junk, cars that now ran better than they ever had. He thought about second chances, about how something broken could be fixed if someone cared enough to try. He thought about the choices people made when no one was watching, the easy choice versus the right one. And he thought about the fact that sometimes the smallest decisions, the ones that seemed insignificant in the moment, turned out to be the ones that changed everything. A year after the trial, Liam stood in front of a small building he'd just purchased with the money from the settlement. It was bigger than his old garage, had space for 6 bays instead of 2, room to grow. The sign above the door read Carter Restoration and Repair. Underneath, in smaller letters, "In memory of Marcus Reed." Maya stood beside him, holding a ribbon they were about to cut for the grand opening. "You ready?" she asked. "Yeah, I think so." "You nervous?" "A little." "Don't be. You've done scarier things." Liam smiled. "When'd you get so wise?" "I learned from you." They cut the ribbon together. A small crowd applauded. Friends, neighbors, a few reporters who'd stayed interested in the story. Ava was there too, standing near the back. She caught Liam's eye, gave him a small nod. Inside the garage, the black Maserati sat in the first bay, fully restored, gleaming under the lights. Maya had claimed it as hers the moment Liam finished the work, said she'd drive it when she turned 16. Liam had laughed and told her they'd see, but secretly, he hoped she would. Hoped she'd remember that the car sitting in their garage wasn't just a car. It was a reminder that some things were worth fighting for, even when the fight seemed impossible. That evening, after everyone had left, Liam sat in the new garage with a beer he didn't really want and a sense of accomplishment he didn't quite know what to do with. His phone buzzed, a text from Ava. "Proud of you." Liam smiled, typed back. "Couldn't have done it without you. Sure you could have. You just would have taken longer." He laughed, set the phone down. The truth was, she was wrong. He wouldn't have done any of this without her, without Marcus Reed, without Claire, without every person who'd refused to let the easy lie win. The world didn't change because of one person. It changed because of all the people who decided that enough was enough. And Liam Carter, a mechanic who'd never wanted to be a hero, had learned that sometimes the most important thing you could do was refuse to look away. Even when looking away would have been easier, even when fighting back felt impossible, even when no one would have blamed you for walking away. Because in the end, the choice wasn't between winning and losing, it was between trying and giving up. And Liam had spent too long giving up on things that mattered. Not anymore. He stood, turned off the lights, locked the garage. Tomorrow, he'd start working on the next project, a vintage Mustang someone had brought in, convinced it was beyond saving. Liam had looked under the hood, seen the potential, and told them he'd take it on. Because that's what he did now. He took broken things and made them whole again. And maybe, in the process, he'd done the same thing for himself. Arcadia Motors headquarters looked exactly like the kind of building that housed secrets, all glass and steel, reflecting the morning sky back at itself like a mirror that refused to show what was really inside. Liam stood in the parking lot, staring up at it, while Ava checked her phone for the third time in 5 minutes. "You nervous?" Liam asked. "No," Ava said. Then, after a pause, "Yes, maybe. I don't know." That's convincing. "I spent 8 years trying to get the board's attention. Now they want to talk, and I have no idea if this is genuine or just damage control." "Guess we'll find out." They walked through the glass doors into a lobby that smelled like expensive coffee and corporate ambition. The receptionist checked their names against a list, handed them visitor badges, and directed them to the executive floor. The elevator ride up felt longer than it should have. Liam caught his reflection in the polished steel doors. He'd tried to clean up, borrowed a shirt from a neighbor that actually fit, shaved, did his best to look like someone who belonged in a building like this. But the bruise on his face was still visible, and his hand still had grease under the nails that no amount of scrubbing would fully remove. He looked like exactly what he was, a mechanic pretending to be something else. The elevator doors opened onto a conference room that could have fit Liam's entire garage inside it twice. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. A long table dominated the center, surrounded by leather chairs that probably cost more than his truck. 5 people sat at the table. Liam recognized one of them from the news, Catherine Wells, the board member who'd called Ava. She was in her 60s, silver hair pulled back, wearing a suit that looked like it had been tailored specifically for moments like this. "Miss Sinclair," Catherine said, standing, "thank you for coming. And you must be Mr. Carter." Liam shook her hand. Her grip was firm, businesslike. "Please, sit," Catherine said. They sat. The other board members introduced themselves, names Liam immediately forgot, titles that sounded important, faces that all blurred together into one collective expression of controlled concern. Catherine folded her hands on the table. "Let me start by saying the board is deeply troubled by the allegations that have come to light. Project Halo was before most of our tenure, but that doesn't absolve us of responsibility." "Troubled," Ava repeated. "That's one word for it." "We're prepared to take action," Catherine continued. "Richard Dane has been suspended pending a full investigation. We've retained an independent law firm to review the evidence, and we're cooperating fully with law enforcement." "What kind of action?" Liam asked. Catherine looked at him. "Termination, criminal referral, civil suit to recover damages. Everything within our power." "That's a lot of words," Liam said. "But none of them mean anything unless you actually follow through." One of the other board members, a younger man with the kind of jaw that suggested he'd never been told no in his life, leaned forward. "Mr. Carter, I assure you we take this very seriously." "Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're scrambling to save face. Richard screwed up, got caught. Now you're throwing him under the bus to protect the company." "That's not—" "Let him finish," Catherine said quietly. Liam looked at her, then at the rest of the board. "Marcus Reed died 5 years ago trying to expose what Richard was doing. Nobody listened. Nobody cared. Now his daughter's grown up without a father, and you want me to believe you're suddenly interested in justice?" The room went quiet. Catherine didn't look away. "You're right. We failed Marcus Reed. We failed his family. We failed everyone who trusted this company to do the right thing." She paused. "But we can't change the past. All we can do is try to make the future better." "How?" Ava asked. "By holding Richard accountable, by ensuring this never happens again, and by offering you both our support, financial, legal, whatever you need, to see this through." Liam studied Catherine's face. She looked sincere, but sincerity was easy. Action was harder. "I want Richard arrested," Liam said. "Not suspended, not quietly retired with a golden parachute. Arrested, charged, put on trial." "We're working with the district attorney's office to make that happen," Catherine said. "And Claire Reed, Marcus's daughter? She deserves compensation, a public apology, something that acknowledges what your company took from her." Catherine nodded. "Agreed. We'll arrange a meeting with her, personally." Liam glanced at Ava. She was watching the board members carefully, her expression unreadable. "What do you want, Ava?" Catherine asked. Ava was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I want my job back." That surprised everyone, including Liam. "Your job?" Catherine repeated. Not the one I had before. I want a position with real authority, oversight, the ability to make sure something like Project Halo never gets buried again. Catherine considered that. Looked at the other board members. Some kind of silent conversation happened between them. We can do that, Catherine said finally. Chief Compliance Officer, direct report to the board, full access to all projects, budgets, and internal reviews. And a seat at the table, Ava added. Not just compliance, strategy. I want a voice in how this company moves forward. Catherine smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. You drive a hard bargain, Ms. Sinclair. I learned from the best. Unfortunately, the best was also a criminal. The meeting lasted another hour. They went over details, timelines, legal strategies. By the end, Liam's head was spinning with clauses and contingencies and corporate jargon that made his brain hurt. But the outcome was clear. Richard was finished. The board was serious. And Ava had just negotiated herself into a position where she could actually change things. As they left the building, Liam turned to her. Chief Compliance Officer? Too much? No, just unexpected. I could have walked away, started over somewhere else, but then Richard wins. The system stays broken, and people like Marcus Reed keep dying for nothing. So you're staying. I'm staying, but on my terms this time. They reached Ava's car. She unlocked it, then paused. What are you going to do? She asked. With the garage, the cars? Liam had been thinking about that. The 12 vehicles were still sitting in his lot. Evidence, technically, but also an opportunity. I'm going to fix them, Liam said. Properly. Then I'm going to sell them. All of them? All except one. Let me guess. The black Maserati. Liam smiled. Maya made me promise. Ava laughed. It was the first time Liam had heard her really laugh. You're a good dad, you know that? I'm trying. That's more than most people do. She got in the car, drove off, leaving Liam standing in the parking lot. He pulled out his phone, called Julie. Hey, I'm done with the meeting. Can I pick up Maya? She's at school. But Liam, you should come over. There's something you need to see. What kind of something? Just come over. Julie hung up before he could ask more questions. Liam drove to Julie's house, a knot of worry forming in his stomach. When he arrived, Julie was standing on the porch, holding her phone. What's going on? Liam asked. Julie handed him the phone. On the screen was a news article from an hour ago. Richard Dane arrested on charges of corporate fraud, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to commit murder. Liam read it twice to make sure he wasn't hallucinating. They actually did it, he said quietly. Turns out when you leak evidence to every major news outlet and the board of directors simultaneously, law enforcement doesn't have much choice, Julie said. Liam scrolled through the article. Richard had been taken into custody that morning, bail denied, trial pending. It was over. Actually over. Liam sat down on the porch steps trying to process it. Julie sat beside him. You okay? Yeah, I think so. Just didn't expect it to happen this fast. The world moves pretty quick when people are paying attention. Liam thought about that, about Marcus Reed dying in the dark, about how long his death had been buried, about how fast everything changed once the light finally reached it. Maya saw the article, Julie said. She's proud of you, just so you know. Liam felt something warm and tight in his chest. She say that? Not in those words, but yeah. The weeks that followed were strange. The media storm eventually died down. The reporters moved on to the next scandal. Richard's trial date was set for 6 months out, which meant Liam and Ava would have to testify. But for now, life returned to something resembling normal. Liam worked on the cars. Slowly, methodically, taking his time to do it right. Maya helped on weekends, organizing parts, learning how engines worked, asking questions that reminded Liam why he'd fallen in love with this work in the first place. Ava stopped by occasionally, never announced, just showed up with coffee and updates on the case. She'd taken the compliance job and was systematically dismantling every shady practice she could find. You're making enemies, Liam said one afternoon while they sat in the garage drinking terrible coffee. Good. Means I'm doing something right. You ever worried they'll come after you? Every day. But that's the job. 3 months after Richard's arrest, Claire Reed came to visit. She showed up unannounced, knocked on the garage door while Liam was working on the silver BMW. Mr. Carter? Liam wiped his hands, turned around. Claire, didn't expect to see you. I hope that's okay. I was in town and I wanted to see where it all started. Liam gestured around the garage. Not much to see, just a lot of old cars and broken equipment. Claire walked between the vehicles, running her hand along their hoods. These are the ones my father tried to protect. Yeah. She stopped at the Audi, the prototype, the one that had started everything. What are you going to do with this one? She asked. I don't know yet. It's evidence. Technically still belongs to Arcadia, but once the trial's over, he shrugged, maybe a museum. Somewhere people can see it. Remember what happened? Claire nodded. Then she reached into her bag, pulled out an envelope, and handed it to Liam. What's this? A check from the board. Compensation for everything you went through. Liam opened the envelope. The number on the check made his hands shake. This is too much, he said. It's not enough. But it's what they approved. Claire paused. There's a separate fund for me, and for anyone else affected by Project Halo. The board's trying to make things right. You believe them? I don't know, but Ava does. And I trust her. She hugged him. It was quick, awkward, the kind of hug between two people who didn't really know each other, but were connected by something bigger than themselves. When she left, Liam stood in the garage for a long time, staring at the check. He thought about Maya's tuition, the overdue rent, the air compressor that still made that expensive noise. He thought about Marcus Reed, about a man who died trying to do the right thing, and he thought about the choice he'd made 3 months ago, the one that had led him here. That night, Liam sat Maya down at the kitchen table. I need to talk to you about something, he said. Maya looked up from her homework. Am I in trouble? No, the opposite, actually. He pulled out the check, set it on the table. This is from Arcadia, compensation for everything that happened. Maya stared at the number. Dad, that's a lot of money. Yeah. What are you going to do with it? Liam had thought about that. A lot. Some of it goes to bills, tuition, fixing up the garage properly. But the rest? I want to set up a fund for kids like you, kids who lost parents because someone decided profit was more important than people. Help with college, living expenses, whatever they need. Maya looked at him. You're serious? Yeah, I am. Maya smiled. It was the kind of smile that reminded Liam so much of her mother it hurt. I think that's a good idea. Yeah? Yeah, Mom would have liked it too. 6 months later, Richard Dane's trial began. Liam testified on the 3rd day. Told the jury everything, the cars, the hard drive, the note from Marcus Reed, the gunmen in the warehouse. Richard's lawyers tried to tear him apart on cross-examination, called him opportunistic, suggested he'd fabricated evidence. Liam didn't flinch. He told the truth. Let the jury decide what to do with it. Ava testified the next day. Claire testified last, talking about her father, about the man he'd been, about the hole his death had left. By the time she finished, half the jury was crying. The verdict came back on a Tuesday afternoon. Liam was in the garage when his phone rang. It's over, Ava said. Over how? Guilty, on all counts. Liam set down his wrench. All of them? Every single one. Richard's going to prison, Liam, for a long time. Liam closed his eyes, felt relief wash over him like water. We did it, he said quietly. Yeah, we did. A year after the trial, Liam stood in front of a building he'd just purchased. Bigger than his old garage, had space for 6 bays instead of 2. The sign above the door read Carter Restoration and Repair. Underneath, in smaller letters, in memory of Marcus Reed. Maya stood beside him, holding a ribbon they were about to cut. You ready? She asked. Yeah, I think so. They cut the ribbon together. Inside the garage, the black Maserati sat in the first bay, fully restored. Maya had claimed it the moment Liam finished the work, said she'd drive it when she turned 16. That evening, after everyone had left, Liam sat alone with a beer and a sense of accomplishment he didn't quite know what to do with. His phone buzzed. A text from Ava. Proud of you. Liam smiled, typed back. Couldn't have done it without you. Sure you could have. You just would have taken longer. He laughed, set the phone down. The truth was simpler than either of them wanted to admit. The world didn't change because of one person. It changed because of all the people who decided that enough was enough. And sometimes the most important thing you could do was refuse to look away when looking away would have been easier. Liam had spent too long taking the easy path. Not anymore. He stood, turned off the lights, locked the garage. Tomorrow he'd start on the next project. A vintage Mustang someone had brought in, convinced it was beyond saving. Liam had looked under the hood, seen the potential, and told them he'd take it on, because that's what he did now. He took broken things and made them whole again. Cars, systems, maybe even himself. And as he drove home through the quiet streets, Liam realized something he hadn't expected. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was building. And that made all the difference.